Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I am going to be recapping my round 1 game that I played in the American Open. Now, in the first round I am playing an 1871 rated player and my rating is 2109. I've actually broken 2100 for the first time before this tournament, and let's get right into it. So I am white and I play e4. He plays a Sicilian, the Hyper Accelerated Dragon, and I like to play the Meroxy Bind. I like the positional aspects of it. So I went for this. He goes knight c6, I defend my knight. After knight 6, I defend my pawn, and he goes knight g4, which is pretty common. It is the main line. I cannot take the knight because he can actually take. If takes, takes, and I'll be forced to go into an endgame that will go like this. And black has a slight advantage probably because he has the two bishops. And if he gets this bishop out, he can have a lot of pressure against my pawns. So I take the knight, and the point of this is now he can take my knight since it's unguarded, and the line is I have to go back and attack his knight. He goes e5 to defend his knight, and I go bishop d3. This is all pretty common. He goes d6, castles, and castles. And now I just go queen d2. I connect the rooks. I want my ideal setup for my rooks to be like this, and for a potential b4, or maybe an f4, probably not, but we'll see, or a potential knight on d5. That's like my ideal setup, or a knight on e2 to get this knight out of here. But he goes f5, and I actually quite like this move because I felt after f4, which is what I played, it offered me an imbalance in the structure. I now have this pawn block, and I want him to be the first person to take, which he does. And now the point of this is now my bishops are going to be a little bit more active, as it's targeting this pawn. It may be a thing in the future. I could also bring my rook and open up the file here. And he goes queen b6. And queen b6 is just a one-move threat. Obviously, he's threatening knight to f3, double check. And I go king h1 sidestepping. And here he goes 96, which is basically the first mistake. And also kind of ends the game in 15 moves. It's borderline winning. And the reason is, now that he played knight to e6, this knight was originally defending this pawn. And now this pawn only has 1 and 2 defenders. And so I go bishop e3, and now I can attack this 1, 2, 3 times. Until this pawn's under attack. And if he goes queen to a5, well, it doesn't matter. I can just take, and I can go bishop h6 to get this bishop out of here. If I can bring my rooks, I could just go for a potential attack, put my knight on d5, and just try and win the game like that. And the next move, if he doesn't do that, the other move he has is bishop d4, which is what he played in the game. And now after bishop d4, I can't just take, because he'll take. And if I take, now he's defending the pawn again. And so I go bishop h6 attacking the rook. Again, if he moves the rook like this, I take the pawn, I win a pawn. And so he has to go knight to g7, which is what he played, which is defending the pawn. But now, this knight is now pinned to the rook, and it's a little bit weird, but I actually have a winning tactic. I can actually take the pawn. If he takes like this, I can just go here, queen g5. He's not gonna last. I can, like, thank him. I will personally thank him if he lasts in this position, but he's not. This is way too weak for him. And so the only other option is to take with the bishop. And now I take. And the point is, if he takes, again, I still have rook e1, queen g5. And if he rook takes f5, the whole point of his tactic is now I can slide my knight over here. Knight to a4, which is dismantles the protection of this bishop. And if he tries to attack my knight and do like this, I checkmate him on the spot. And if he does go 96, which is actually like a little bit tricky, I can actually just go queen to g4. He cannot take because I can take this rook. And rook f1, this knight's under attack. And if he goes rook f1, knight f5, I actually have... Hold up, I have to... I can go queen d2. And the point is queen f4, I have this move rook f5, sacking the rook, as Gotham Chess says. And the point is if he takes, queen d5 check, and queen d4. and I'm winning a piece. So after this, he actually has to take with the knight, and now I am just up an exchange. It's still a little bit tricky, but I should be able to win this game. I just go rook d1 attacking the bishop. He goes rook e8, and I trade off the rooks. I'm fine with the rook trade. Whenever you're up materially, you'll always want to simplify the position. He trades and goes queen c5. And actually, it's a little bit tricky still because he actually is threatening knight. Like, if I just go like b3 defending my pawn, he actually has knight g3 checkmate. This is a bad way to lose. And I go queen d3 defending the pawn and defending this. Or am I defending this? Because he goes knight g3 check. And I still can't take because of queen h5. So queen g3 is forced, and the point of this is now he goes bishop to f2. But he missed something here. I can actually go queen g4 or queen h3, and the point is if he takes, I have this check and I'm winning the bishop. But I do have another option. I can go rook e8 check and rook c8. The point if he puts like this, I can just go check. I left for my king and I should win. And the point is if he takes like this, I can take, and his bishop's under attack, and I win the bishop, and I should be able to win the game. And so after rook c8, he takes, and I go queen f2 check. It should be a pretty straightforward win. I pick up the pawn. He goes queen e8, trying for one last thing here. If he takes on c4, I have queen to d5, trading the queens. I want to trade the queens so I can simplify. Queen e8, I just go h3, queen e1, king h2, and I bring my knight to maximum activity on the square on d5, and once he puts his king back, I then win a second pawn. I put maximum activity for my queen, queen e5, and now he trades the queens, which makes it a little bit easier for me, because now I just make a passed pawn. He tries to give up all his material to get a stalemate, as you can see in a few moves. He gives up the pawn, and actually this pawn can't move, so if I should be careful for an accidental stalemate, but this isn't stalemate since he can move forward, and I end up checkmating him. So this was a pretty solid game. I got 1 out of 1, and we'll see how well I do. This is a pretty solid game. My opponent, honestly, like, his only real mistake was 96. If he just went maybe something like bishop e6, perhaps I could go rook e1 or rook c1. I could do either one, and the game would have continued. I would have been slightly better because I have more options to open the position, and my pieces are a little bit more active than his. Plus, with f5, his king is a little bit unsafe, but it would have been a little bit longer. But credit to my opponent, he did play pretty well. You know, just unfortunate with this knight e6. I found this bishop e3, bishop h6 idea. And yeah, I'm at 1 out of 1. That's all for today, and I will see you all in round 2 of the American Open. Goodbye, everyone.